Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome to today's Daf Yomi Pesachim at Tzadik Tes. We are 3 lines from the top of the Amud. Shnayim shenisarva Pesachim v'chulu. Leima masnisin the loik Rabbi Yehuda. It appears that our Mishnah is not in line with Rabbi Yehuda's shita. What are we speaking about? You may recall that the Mishnah presented several mix-up cases where the Karbonos Pesach were mixed up between groups. And in the last and final case of the Mishnah, we have Ruvain, who is a proud owner of his Karban Pesach. Shimon likewise has his Karban Pesach. The problem is their animals got mixed up. We do not know which one belongs to whom. Now the simple solution theoretically would be that both owners abandon their Karbonos. They disengage from their Karbonos and reacquire a carbon of their choice. They choose one and this becomes their new carbon. The problem with that is, as Rashi explained, is that a Karban Pesach may not be left ownerless even for a moment. So you can't just abandon your carbon, because at that point the carbon is left without a baalim and it's possible. So what then do we do? The Mishnah provided a solution as follows. Ruvain invites another person to come join him in his Karban Pesach. Now he has a group of 2 people. Shimon does the same on his side. Goes out to the street, gets a stranger to join him in his Karban. We have 2 groups of 2 people each. Now, one member of this group will go over to the other side, join the other group. A member of the second group will go over to join the first group. They swap one person amongst themselves. Now we have Reuven standing on one side, together with a member of Shimon's group, and Shimon likewise standing on his side with a member of Reuven's group. And the Mishnah tells us that they recite the following formula. Reuven turns to his newcomer and he says, "Look, I'm not sure whose Pesach this is. If it's mine, then what you're going to do is abandon yours and come join me. If this happens to be yours," meaning this wasn't really my carbon, it was really Shimon's, in which you are now a member because you joined Shimon. So I'm abandoning my carbon, I'm joining you on your carbon. And Shimon does the same on the other side. Says the Gemara, but it appears that our Mishnah is not following Rabbi Yehuda. Leima masisin like Rabbi Yehuda, because Rabbi Yehuda holds you must have at least one original member here, a veteran member. A Pesach cannot be owned exclusively by newcomers. Whereas in our case, it can very well be that that's exactly what happened. Reuven abandoned his carbon and joined this fellow, and Shimon abandoned his carbon and joined the fellow next to him. And effectively, the balus, the ownership of the Karbonos Pesach were left exclusively in the hands of these newcomers. And that doesn't work according to Rabbi Yehuda. We darshan like this, that if the members dwindle, they leave, they abandon ship, they're mismite. That's okay. They can go ahead and leave the group, provided there's at least one original member here. You have 10 people purchasing a carbon, designating a carbon. 9 can leave, provided there's one fellow left behind. Divid Rabbi Yehuda. You need to have a shear, a leftover, but that fellow has to be from the original group. Rabbi Yisrael, that's not necessary. They can all leave, provided they don't leave the Pesach alone, abandoned, ownerless at any given moment. So according to Rabbi Yisrael, the process described in our Mishnah works perfectly well, because at no point in time wasn't even a single moment that this Pesach was left without an owner. Because bear in mind, we had 2 members for Pesach. Reuben invited somebody to join him, and Shimon likewise invited somebody to join him. So even when Reuben had to abandon his Pesach, right, he told the fellow that came over from Shimon's group, if this is yours, I'm leaving my Pesach alone, I'm joining you. Even at that moment, the Reuben abandoned ship, but there was another member of that Pesach standing somewhere in the room who was still the owner of that Pesach. In which case, the Pesach was never left without a Baalim. So that's good according to Rabbi Yossi, but according to Rabbi Yehuda, it can very well be that this Pesach was transferred to new owners. An owner, a member who was never here. It wasn't part of the initial Chabura, which in this case was only Reuven and Shimon. No, our Mishnah could be in line even with Rabbi Yehuda. How's that? Kivan the Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Ein sheichten es Pesach al Yachid. We actually discussed this machlekes earlier at Tzadik Aleph. It seems to be an unrelated machlekes. Can we bring a Pesach for a Yachid, an individual owner? According to Rabbi Yehuda, no. We learn it from a pasuk. Leisuchal izbeich a Pesach be'echad. You can't bring the Pesach for one. According to Rabbi Yehuda, you can. This discussion seems to be unrelated to Al Gemara. Says Rabbi Yehuda, no, it's actually very much related. Since according to Rabbi Yehuda, when Reuven purchased that Pesach, it wasn't meant to remain as such, as having just a single owner. You're not meant to bring a Pesach for a Yochid. It was slated to have more members. Initially, it was meant to get some more members here. Therefore, when Reuven went out to the street to find himself a friend, he is treated and regarded as though he's one of the original members of this carbon, because the carbon needed at least two people. Therefore, says Rabbi Yehuda, even if it should so be that the Pesach was transferred to the newcomer, that's okay. He is considered like a veteran member, like an original member, because it was meant to be. He was meant to be added and considered a member of this Pesach. Therefore, says Rabbi Yehuda, our Mishnah is perfectly in line with Rabbi Yehuda, who holds that not only must a Pesach always have an owner, but it must also have at least one of the original owners. Amar Ba'ashi, masnisin namideka. Actually, if you take a closer look at our Mishnah, you will find that it is very much in line with Rabbi Yehuda, and only with Rabbi Yehuda. Why? Diktani, because in the previous case, the Mishnah tells us about 5 groups. V'chein chamish chaburos shel chamisha chamisha. 5 chaburos, each one had their carbon Pesach. Each chabura consisted of 5 members. So these 5 animals got mixed up. Mishnah tells us we have a solution for the problem. How's that? We have 5 groups. In each group we have 5 people. We take one person from each group and form a new group. We take another person from each group and form a new group of 5 people. We repeat the process 5 times over. The result is 5 new groups. And bear in mind, the original groups are all represented in every single one of these 5 groups. They have an ambassador in each one of those groups. This will ensure that the Korban Pesach, which was chosen by each one of these new groups, will have at least one rightful owner amongst them. Must be so. And then the Mishnah tells us they repeat they go through the ceremony, they turn to them, they say, well, if this is yours, we're joining you. If it's ours, join us, etc. According to says Rav Ashi, what's the pshat that we speak about 5 groups of equal numbers? Each one has five members. Shel chamisha in. It only works if each one of the original groups had 5. In which case now they're evenly distributed. We came up with 5 new groups, each one having 5 people, representing all original 5 groups. Aval shel chamisha v'abaloi. But suppose you switch things around slightly. you began with 5 groups. The first, second, third, and fourth had 5 members. The last group only had 4 members. In that case, it won't work. Why won't it work? True, you need to have 5 in each group so that they'll be evenly distributed. They'll each have representation in the newly formed groups. That's true, because otherwise the Pesach might be left for a moment without an owner. So that's true. You need to have 5 in each original group in order to circumvent that concern. Because otherwise, if you only have 1, 2, 3, 4 groups having 5 people, and the 5th one only has 4 people, when you reconfigure, when you redistribute the members and form new groups, you will end up with 4 groups of 5 people each. And the last group only 4 people. In which case it can turn out that the Pesach, which was chosen by the members of the smaller group, the 4-member group, really belonged to other people. The rightful owner of that carbon Pesach is not being represented in their group. Now when the other ones abandon their carbon through this process, through the reciting this whole nusach of the Mishnah, it might very well be that they're abandoning their carbon. There's nobody to hold on to it, because it was chosen by that smallest group where there is no owner there. The rightful owner of that carbon is not being represented there. So inevitably you have to have enough people to distribute them evenly amongst the new groups, to ensure that there's at least one person in that group who owns that Pesach. This will ensure that the Pesach is being held on to by that person and not being abandoned totally. Fine, we understand that. But, says Rashi, you want to get to an even number? Bring somebody in from the street. So why couldn't the Mishnah describe the case as involving 5 groups, 4 of them consisting of 5 members each, and the 5th one only had 4 members, and they went to the street and they found a 5th person to join them. Now you have 5 groups with 5 members in each, and then reconfigure it, redistribute the members as the Mishnah tells us to do. Now you have 5 new groups, and the old groups are all represented within them, and they go through the process. If it's yours, we're joining you. If it's ours, join us. What's wrong with that? Apparently, says Rashi, this is right to review this shita. You can't do this. Why? But if you have some 5, some 4, it doesn't work. Even if they can go and bring a new member to join them, and then redistribute everybody equally. Lav mishum delay payish chad v'bnei chabura gabei. Apparently, the problem here is because we're following Rabbi Yehuda's shita, who holds that you need at least one veteran member who will still hold on to the carbon. You need somebody from the original group. Now, if the group only had 4 people, you don't have to go out and find a 5th person to join them. He's not one of the originals. And if it turns out that after redistributing all the members, the veterans will abandon their carbon, and the only one left with the holding onto the carbon will be this newcomer. It can happen. It can very well be that the newcomers, the group that the newcomer joined, the newly formed group which the newcomer ended up joining, will be the one that chose the carbon which relates to him. And being that the other owners of this carbon abandoned that carbon, he's the only one left holding the carbon. A newcomer cannot be the sole owner of a carbon, according to Rabbi Yehuda. Lav mishum delay payish chad v'bnei chabura gabei. Apparently, the reason is because one of the original bnei chabura was lay payish, wasn't left behind, wasn't left holding onto the carbon. It was completely transferred to this newcomer, and therefore it doesn't work. So the only way it works is if you have 5 groups, 5 members in each, 5 original members in each. Now we redistribute everybody. We take one person from each group, we form a new group, repeat that process 5 times over, which results in all the original groups having representation in every single one of the new groups. In which case, it's inevitable that every Pesach will have at least one rightful owner sitting by it, one member of the original group, the primary owner, who will be there to take care of it. And only in that case does it work. Because indeed, we are following Rabbi Yehuda, very much following Rabbi Yehuda's Shita. And that is a required element. Shema Mina, indeed, this is a raya that our Mishnah is actually in line to Rabbi Yehuda. So the kasha was, the Mishnah is inconsistent to Rabbi Yehuda. We had two terutzim. Rabbi Yechon explained that a carbon which is being owned by a yachid needs to have additional members, and therefore the newcomer is actually considered a primary member. That explained the last case in the Mishnah. Rav Ashi brought a riot. In the case of the group of 5, it's very clear that we are indeed following Rabbi Yehuda's Shita. You need to have at least one original member holding onto the carbon. Hadran lach mishayatomi uslikala Pesach Sheni. This is the conclusion of the halachas of Pesach Sheni. Says the new parak, Erev Pesachim. Now, actually, the Rashbam here is Goyres Arvi Pesachim. Now, the Mefarshim point out that Rashi, which you will find on the top of the Amud, is extra short, extra brief in this parak. It's not so typical for of Rashi to be that way, and that's why many Mefarshim chose, they preferred the Pirush Rashbam, Pirush Rabbeinu Shmuel, which is printed beneath Rashi, which is more elaborate, and he's actually a grandson of Rashi, Rabbeinu Shmuel the Rashbam. So we'll follow in line with the Mefarshim. We'll focus on the Pirush Rashbam. So Rashbam says that the Girsa, if you look at the bold in the Rashbam, Arvi Pesachim. The Rashbam was Gir's Arvei Pesachim, a Lashon Rabbim, and Tesis actually says that seems to be the preferred Girsa, Arvei Pesachim, because Arvei is Lashon Rabbim, Pesachim is Lashon Rabbim. However, says Tesis, there is a Girsa of Erev Pesachim, and he comes to explain the Girsa. He says two pshatim. Erev can mean the Erev of the day. The Erev is the day that they are sheichet many Pesachim. So it's Erev Pesach where many Pesachim are shechted. Inami, says Tosfos, it's Erev of the two Yomtivs, the Pesach Rishon and Pesach Sheni. So either way, whether it's Erev Pesachim or Arvi Pesachim, we're speaking about Erev Pesach. What happens then? It says the Mishnah, Arvi Pesachim Samach Mincha. If it's within a half hour of Mincha, what is Mincha? Explains the Rashbam. It's referring to the time when they were sheiched the Tamid Shel Ben Arbaim, which is 9.5 hours into the day. We're speaking about, for instance, a day that begins at 6, ends at 6. You split the day into 12 equal parts, Sho'es Maniyos. The Korban Tamid was Nishchat B'Teisha Mechza, 9.5 into the day, which is 3:30. Samach Mincha means close to Mincha, within a half hour. So the beginning of the 10th hour, which is 3 o'clock. So Arvi Pesachim Samach Mincha, Lo Yoichal Adam, a person should not sit down to a meal, a filling meal, Acha Techshach. He shouldn't have that meal wait until it gets dark. This way, he'll reserve his appetite for the mitzvah of matzah, which will make it a more muhuder mitzvah. And that's the way it's meant to be. Tosfos asks, what is this person eating in any case? It's Erev Pesach. Chametz, he can't eat. Matzah, you're not allowed to eat. So what exactly is this person eating that's filling him? It says, Tosfos matzah ashira. You have some matzah mixed in with all types of juices and liquids that make it possible for the matzah's mitzvah. On the one hand, it's not chametz. On the other hand, it's not really matzah that you can use for the mitzvah, and therefore you can eat it at Erev Pesach. And Tosfos concludes, V'chein hoya noyger Rabbeinu Tam. Rabbeinu Tam actually would eat matzah shira on Erev Pesach. But, starting from the point of a samach mincha, from 3 o'clock in the afternoon, a person must stop. Lo yoichel adam ad shetechshach. Afilu onei shebi Yisrael, says the Mishnah, even a pauper amongst Yisrael, lo yoichel ad sheyosef. This is a new halacha. Heseba, a person is meant to lean during the Seder night, derech chayrin, derech b'nei chayrin, derech cherus. Even an ani who, Taisus explains, doesn't really have what to lean on that makes him look like a ben chayrin. Still, every yid must do a seva to demonstrate the cherus that we're experiencing at that moment. At least spiritual cherus he should demonstrate. Every yid is going through a Yetzias Mitzrayim, a spiritual exodus, a spiritual cherus, and everybody has to present himself as such. Concludes the Mishnah, this pauper, they shouldn't give him less than 4 cups of wine. Even if he's in such a destitute situation that he's sustained by this daily food collection, this tamchay collection, he must make sure that he has 4 kaises of yain for the Seder. Let's take a look at Rashbam, right in the middle of the Amid. Ari Pesachim Samach Mincha. Mincha Ketana. Mincha means Mincha Ketana. What does Mincha Ketana mean? Mincha describes the point in time in the day where they would be makriv, the Tamish ben Arbaim. Now technically, you can begin from Chatzos or half hour after Chatzos up until Shkia. That's called Mincha Gedola. This large segment of time designated for the Tamid. But generally, typically in the Beis HaMikdash, they would bring the Tamid only much later, at 9.5 hours into the day, to allow for the Nedarim and the Davids, which are meant to precede the Tamid. From 9.5 until the end of the day, leaves you 2.5 hours. That's called Mincha Ketana, the smaller Mincha time period. Says the Rashbam, Mincha means Mincha Ketana. What does Samacha Mincha mean? Koydel Mincha ma'at chatzi shah. A half hour before Mincha, that's called Samacha Mincha. Betchilas shah asiris, at the initiation of the 10th hour. 10th hour is from 3 to 4. And 4 to 5 is the 11th, and 5 to 6 is the 12th. So from 3 o'clock, you must refrain from having a suda. The snan tamid nishcha b'shmayna mechza, v'kara b'tisha mechza. The tamid was generally nikra at 9.5. Nimtzes mincha ktana b'tesa mechza, v'samach lei hainu chati shah koidem, b'seiv sha'at shiris, v'tchilas sha'asiris, at the transition point between 2 and 3. 2 and 3 o'clock, so meaning as soon as it hits 3 o'clock, that's called samach mincha. A person must refrain. Why? You should have a desire to eat the matzah shal mitzvah, mishum hider mitzvah. Eating it with appetite adds to the mitzvah experience. That's called hider mitzvah. The Mishnah continued, further, the Mishnah says, they shouldn't give him less. We're speaking about the gaboyit stock and stock collectors who support the aniyim. Kedesnan a personal ani even makom makom. Alma lishna leivchasu agaboyit stock koy. The Rashbam brings a Mishnah and Peah, which employs the same terminology. They shouldn't give him less. We're speaking about the stock collectors providing. Says Rashbam, even if he doesn't receive from the administrators, he must look after his chiyuv. This is just common practice. That they would generally give him 4 kaises. That's why the Mishnah describes it as such. But really, each individual, in every situation, must ensure that he acquires these 4, that he obtains 4 kaises. And exactly how do we drink those kaises, the Gemara later will discuss. Umatzinu b'bereishis Rabba, says Rashbam, Rav Huna b'shem Rabbi Abba Amar. What's the point of 4 kaises? Keneged arba l'shoyne geula ha'amurim begolas Mitzrayim. We find 4 l'shoynes of geula. V'yitzeisi, v'go'alti, v'lokachti, v'yitzalti, parshas ve'era. And the 4 kaises shal yain are meant to correspond to those 4 kaises shal geula. 4 l'shoynes shal geula. He's very poor. A fellow that has a 2 suda supply with him, he can't partake in the tamchay collection. So this fellow who's being sustained by a tamchay is very desperate. Even this fellow, if he didn't receive an allowance from the Gaboy, he has to sell his clothing, or yulva, or borrow a yaskers atzmor, or hire himself out to earn some wages. That's how important it is. So Mishnah began with the restriction of eating from the point of Samach Mincha in order to generate an appetite for the matzah. Says the Gemara, "My area Arvi Pesachim. Why are we focusing on Erev Pesach? Afilu Arvi Shabbosis. V'yom Tov Nam. This halacha applies to every Erev Shabbos, every Erev Yom Tov. This time, Lo Yeichel Adam B'Arvi Shabbosis. V'yom Tovim Mincha L'Mala. One must refrain from eating on every Erev Shabbos, every Erev Yom Tov, starting from Mincha onward. And the Gemara figures, Mincha L'Mala means Samach Mincha, from 3 o'clock onward. Why do we have this halacha on your typical Erev Shabbos? Kedei she'yikanes l'Shabbos kishu tava. So he enters Shabbos with an appetite for the Suda Shabbos, for Kiddush, which is a Hider Mitzvah. Did Rabbi Yehuda? Rabbi Yehuda, no, there's no such halacha. Oichel v'oilchat shetechshach. You continue eating until nighttime. You don't have to worry about the appetite for Suda Shabbos. In any case, according to Rabbi Yehuda, this halacha applies equally to Shabbos, to every other Yom Tov. So why does our Mishnah specifically related to Erev Pesach? We have two terutzim. Amar Rav Huna, leitzricha el Rabbi Yosi. You're right, according to Rabbi Yehuda, there's no difference between Shabbos, Sukkot, Pesach. Why does the Mishnah focus on Pesach? Because here we have a chiddush that even according to Rabbi Yosi, who's not generally concerned about appetite on Erev Shabbos and Erev Yom Tov, but Erev Pesach is different. Generally, keep on eating. It only applies to your typical standard Erev Shabbos and Erev Yom Tov. Pesach, but Erev Pesach is different on account of the chi of matzah, which is a mitzvah d'oraisa. Over here, even Rabbi Yosi agrees. One must ensure that it has the proper approach, the proper appetite to become the mitzvah d'oraisa properly. This is in contrast with the Shabbos, which is a mitzvah, but it's not d'oraisa, it's a mitzvah of Nevi'im, because the Shabbos oinig, etc. It's doesn't have the same level as mitzvah's matzah. So that answers the kasha. Why specific to Erev Pesach? Because according to Rabbi Yosi, it only applies on Erev Pesach. Let's take a look at the Rashbam again. 7 lines from the bottom of the Amud. Gemara afilu arvi Shabboses. I'll leave it Rabbi Yehuda. According to Rabbi Yehuda, we have a question. This halacha is a standard halacha applied to all arvi Shabboses and Yom Tov. It says Rashi, why? Kedei shehi kiddush usudas Shabbos chavelov. You have a desire for Kiddush, for Suda Shabbos, which enhances the mitzvah experience. The Gemara concluded, the Kiddush is, even according to Rabbi Yosi, who is generally not concerned, but when it comes to Erev Pesach, Mishum Chiyuv the Matzah, Shaloi Tein Echelas Al Soiva, he shouldn't be full when he gets to Matzah. That's why we want to make sure that you refrain from having a meal, don't fill yourself, in order to reserve your appetite for the mitzvah. The Chiyuv the Matzah, Laila Rishon Choiva. In contrast to the rest of the days of Pesach, when eating matzah is not a chiyuv, on the first night it is a chiyuv. So we want to make sure that he has the proper approach. That's the first teretz of the Gemara. Continues the Gemara. Rav Papa Amar afilu kema Rabbi Yehuda. You know what? Our Mishnah can be following even Rabbi Yehuda's sheet. Why do we focus specifically on Erev Pesach, where really this halacha applies to every other Erev Shabbos and Erev Yom Tov? The difference is in the timing. Hasam b'Arvi Shabbos Yom Tovim. True. On your standard Erev Shabbos and Erev Yom Tov, you must refrain from when? From what point onward? When's the cutoff point? Mincha l'mala. 3.5, 3:30. 9.5 hours into the day. But a half hour preceding that is mutter. Al B'Erev Pesach, Afilu Samlacha Mincha Nami Os. As opposed to Erev Pesach, where we advance it a half hour, perhaps because it's Mitzvah D'Oraisa, we stop at 3 o'clock. So our Mishnah is speaking about Erev Pesach, Samlacha Mincha. Whereas by Erev Shabbos and Erev Yom Tov, you also must stop, but the cutoff point is a half hour later. That's why there's a difference in Erev Pesach, discussed in our Mishnah, and the other Ari Shabbos Yom Tov discussed in the Brisa. Says the Gemara, is that so? Uber of Shabbos, Samach Mincha Shari? On your standard Erev Shabbos, you can continue eating past the stage of Samach Mincha until 9.5 hours into the day? V'atani, we learned in the Brisa. Lo yoichel Adam be'erev Shabbos. V'yom tovim, from what time on? Mitesha shosel amal. From 9 hours into the day. Meaning from 3 o'clock onward. Kadeshi kanaf l'Shabbos kshutav. To keep the appetite for the Shabbos Suda. Did Rabbi Yehuda? Rabbi Yehuda, Omer, oichel b'hoilech hashetechshach. According to Rabbi Yehuda, no concern. According to Rabbi Yehuda, you must stop at 3 o'clock. This is inconsistent with Rav Huna. With Rav Papa, that said that on Erev Shabbos, you don't have to stop at Samach Mincha. That's unique to Erev Pesach, but Erev Shabbos, continue until 3:30. Who's going to tell us that this brisa is a reliable brisa, correctly formulated brisa? The moment Shabashti, perhaps it's an unreliable brisa. It's misstated, misquoted. We find many times brises weren't so reliable. Who says that the wording of the brisa is meant to be relied upon? The brisa tells us that even on Erev Shabbos you must stop Samach Mincha. Amalei Mereimar. Mereimar responded to Mazutra. V'itema, some say it was Rav Yemer. It's very reliable, this brisa. Ano ikli lepirkei Rav Pinchas. I was present. I encountered the shear of Rav Pinchas, Brei de Rav Ami. V'kom Tana, V'Tane Kamei, and a Chacham got up, and he presented this very brisa before Rav Pinchas. In this manner, that Erev Shabbos you must stop Samach Mincha. The Kibbutz, and he accepted it. Apparently, it's a reliable brisa. Yochi Kasha. If that's the case, go back to square one. If, according to Rabbi Yehuda, even on a standard Erev Shabbos v'Yom Tov, he must stop eating Samach Mincha. There's no difference between Shabbos and Pesach regarding that cutoff point. Takes us back to the first kasha. If so, why does the Mishnah by us focus on Erev Pesach? This is really a generic halacha, a universal halacha applied elsewhere to every Erev Shabbos and Erev Yom Tov. Rav Papa attempted to say there's a difference between Erev Shabbos when you stop at 9.5 and Erev Pesach when you have to have stopped a half hour earlier. But if we're now concluding that Samach Mincha applies universally, go back to the kasha. Why focus on Erev Pesach and our Mishnah? Apparently the correct approach is Rav Huna's approach. That, indeed, according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's always going to be Samach Mincha. Whether Erev Shabbos, Erev Sukkot, Erev Pesach, you must stop at 3 o'clock. There's no difference between Pesach and otherwise. The Chiddush of our Mishnah is that even according to Rabbi Yossi, who's never concerned about appetite, that's only by Shabbos and your standard Yom Tov. But when it comes to Pesach, even Rabbi Yossi would agree. You have to stop Samach Mincha, and his shita is reflected in our Mishnah, and that's why the Mishnah focuses on Erev Pesach, following Rabbi Yossi's shita. And indeed, this halacha is unique and exclusive to Erev Pesach. So, in conclusion, the Mishnah told us about generating an appetite for the mitzvah matzah. We learned about the mitzvah haseba that applies even to an Ani Yisrael who will experience spiritual cheres in that night. And finally, we discussed Arba Koises Shel Yain, which is a requirement for all. In fact, Tesa says it's best that everybody should have their own 4 koises, not only the head of household. And as Mishnah tells us, this applies even to a pauper who is being sustained by a tamchay, And as the Rashbam tells us, he must go to great lengths to obtain 4 koises, which are connected the Arba L'Shoinei Shel Gula.